Hey, Kelsey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How you doing?
I'm great. How about yourself?
Good, good, thanks.
Congratulations on Murder Company. I thought it was
Thank
great.
you.
And the timing, of course, with D-Day 80th anniversary, July 4th coming up. I was curious why doing a film like this, maybe those reasons or anything else come to mind, you doing a film like this, why, doing it was important to you, taking
Yeah.
part in something like this.
Um, it's funny. I've never had a chance to do one of these before. So when it came across my desk and these guys invited me, that's the first part of any negotiation, basically, is you get the invitation.
Yeah.
Um, it seemed right that I have a chance to play one of these guys that my granddad raised me. My granddad served in World War II. So it's just, it seems like a natural sort of honorific to be able to walk into those shoes a little bit and play one of these characters. And my granddad was in the Pacific theater, not in the European theater, but uh, the director's grandfather served with Patton, so he's directly connected to this kind of story. A lot of these things did happen. I have another friend whose dad, an older friend of mine whose dad did serve in one of these sort of murder companies, and there were a few uh, men that did these kind of jobs. And of course, we know that they still are done sometimes, but this was a very, very difficult and challenging time for our country. And these men met the task, and I was honored to actually have a chance to play them.
Yeah, that's great. And yeah, you had a wonderful performance. And, I spoke to some of the other, your co-stars last week, like Pooch and William Moseley. And, they were all speaking so highly of you, like being on set with you and,
Oh, that's nice.
brushing shoulders with you. And, did it feel like, I mean, when you were on set, did you feel that kind of pressure of like kind of all eyes on Kelsey Grammer kind of and playing the general, or
But I'm used to being in a position now where people think, well, he's here because he's made his way here, he's earned it. So I don't mind people looking at me going like, I wonder what he's got, what is it what's his heft he's got him here, and I don't mind showing him. I always just pull out enough to make it impressive. But
yeah,
all in all, it's supposed to be an enjoyable time, focused time, professional. And those are the examples I try to set. You don't waste a lot of time while you're there. You shoot the scene, you show up ready. Uh, I have a slightly different way of working on comedy because I've played Frasier for so long. I don't really learn my lines. I kind of learn them at the last second, and then I have a kind of a sort of an imposed spontaneity because
yeah,
I don't know what I'm doing. So I actually have a muscle in my head that looks like he's looking for what he's trying to say.
yeah,
That's the truth. In most other situations, I don't do that. I learn my lines. But in this one, it was just to be the centerpiece of the scenes I was in, to be the guy commanding. Yeah, yeah, you have to have those aspects.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That's interesting, different way of working. I mean, that makes sense, doing comedy, different way of working,
Yeah, there's an old saying by John Gielgud actually said this years ago. He said, "Style is knowing what play you're in," and that is exactly true. Uh, you fit any performance to the piece you're doing, and you have to know the confines and the parameters of that in order to fill it properly. And that's why we have to have education. That's why we have to be smart, and read a lot. If you're a non-reading actor, I don't know how the hell you could do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. And speaking of, I was going to ask, that I saw the headlines, some of the cast coming back for season two, which is super exciting. A lot of people can't wait to see, season two of the reboot. And I was curious if there's anything you'd like to share about that, beyond,
Sure. Well, we actually do have a lot of returning characters this year, and some new ones that are really fun guest star
yeah,
uh, people showing up this year. Uh, we've got Perry's coming back as Roz, which
yeah,
is fun. We've got a little line through for her. My daughter's going to be on the show, which is kind of fun as Roz's daughter.
nice.
Uh, what else have we got? Well, and then these amazing kind of star stunt casting things. We've done several of those and a couple of return visits from beloved characters. I can't divulge all of them, but so far so good. We're shooting the seventh episode tonight.
Oh,
Uh,
nice.
we've got 3 more to go, but they're wonderful. The shows have really, really taken off. I'm really very happy with it.
Well, that's great. I can't wait to see it. Is it tricky? I know you've said that like you don't want it to feel nostalgic, but you know, with some of the returning cast coming back, I mean, is that ever tricky to like
Yes,
navigate?
it can be a little tricky, and there is a sense of if the nostalgia is earned by being having a contemporary value, then it's okay.
Yeah.
And we have one that's we have a big show that's going super nostalgic, and we haven't really. I'm not really able to talk too much about that until it comes out, but
Right.
uh, it's a wonderful show. And you see some people who you used to know that are. It's sort of like, oh my God, there they are, and that
Yeah.
happened. That happens in this one show particularly. It's quite lovely. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's great. And, you know, including Murder Company, you know, the list goes on. I know you've chosen work in the past related to American history and,
Yeah.
you know, 4th of July coming up, as we said. I know there's that history series that you're narrating for Fox. So I was
Yeah.
curious if there's
Yeah.
anything you'd like to share about that.
Well, we just did another special for George Washington, which I think is streaming now on Fox Nation, and I
Yeah.
imagine I'll put it on their network as well at some point. But
Yeah.
it's great about George Washington, and George Washington is one of my favorites
Yeah.
because of sort of the organic tenacity he showed in fighting for this country. I mean, he set the example. I mean, he did. I mean, the odds were against the guy, and somehow he pulled it off. And of course, he always credits. He says, "Look, anybody who thinks this happened without divine intervention or without providential intercession is a fool. I mean, anybody who thinks this didn't happen because God was on our side is a nut." And so I think he's probably right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, very cool. I also, you know, I read that interesting story, you know, the interview you did with Deadline about, you know, the sideshow Bob, you know, origin story, which was
Oh,
which was a who.
well, Sam Simon called and said, "You're still singing." I said, "Yeah,
Yeah.
sure." I said, "Okay, can you sing Cole Porter?" I said, "Yes, of course I can."
Yeah.
And I thought at the time that was the perfect opportunity to do my impression of Ellis Rabb, who was a famous theatrical actor, and it turned out to be true. I mean, Ellis lives in Sideshow Bob, and what's even funnier is my great grandfather's name was Ellis, and I hadn't thought about it. We gave it to one of my sons now. My son, Auden James Ellis Grammer, is sort of to kind of commemorate the name, but also sort of to rehabilitate it because that particular side of my family went down pretty fast. Ellis's story is not a great one, but so we hope to give it a new life in my son.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. I mean, do you hope to do, I mean, how does that compare, you know, voicing characters like Sideshow Bob and, you know, do you hope to do more voice work, you know, in the future?
Yeah, I mean, I always have. There's always something I'm doing, some cartoon somewhere, some animation thing. But Sideshow Bob really cut through a lot of it. You know, he casts a long shadow, but it's just fun to. You can do whatever you want to in an animated piece because just it's all on your voice anyway. It's all on your own kind of quirky interpretation of something. And if somebody has an idea that they want to feed you as well, and then together you arrive at this extraordinary characterization, it's really fun. I mean, it's fantastic. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine.
Mm.
Well, cool. Well, thank you very much, Kelsey. It's all
Thank
the
you.
time I have. It was very nice to meet you, and I hope we can do this on the next one.
Thank you. Nice to see you, man.